Good morning. So today I thought what we would do is we would take a look at long division again, but I wanted to also do a little bit of explaining as I go because I think it's a concept that's challenging and this is the first time you've seen it. So I want to go over it over and over again. It's something you're going to see next year more of. So this year it's more of just an introduction to it, but next year you will see more of it. But I did want to spend a little more time on it today, give you some more examples and try and explain my thinking as I'm actually completing the question. So let's take a fairly straightforward long division problem. So let's go 4 divided into, let's go with 812. So you do 4 divided into 812. So remember the first thing you do is you write down in the column your 4 times tables. You skip count by 4s, makes it a lot easier to complete the problem as you're going through. So I'm just going to do my table here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm going to skip count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, and 40. All right, so there's my table of 4s. So first step, remember, I'm just going to get something there. So the first step, if you remember, is you are taking a look at the question, but you're not taking a look at all of the numbers. You just want to look at the first digit and ask yourself, does 4 go into 8? If this was a lower number, like a 3 or a 2, 4 would not go into that number, which means you would have to get to the next digit. But 4, in fact, does go into 8. I can find 8 right here, and I can see that 4 goes into 8 2 times. I put my 2 above the 8. Oops. My 2 goes above the 8. That's where my answer goes. Then that's my first step, divide. Now I multiply my 2 by my 4, which gives me 8. I put the answer to that down here. And the point of that, remember I said before, the point of that is you want to start breaking down this 812 into things that the 4 will go into, but you don't want to divide the 4 into stuff that you've already divided it into. So I'm going to use 4 into 8 is 2. 2 times 4 is 8. I subtract, I get 0. All right, now I'm going to bring down my next number, which is my 1. My 1 goes here. So, I know it's 0, 1, you wouldn't really write 1 that way, but because 0 was the subtraction answer, and my 1 is there, so I go 4 into 1. Well, be careful. It's how many 4s are in 1, not how many 1s are in 4. So the answer is not 4, right? There are 4 1s in 4. There are no 4s in 1. I cannot divide 1, get any 4s in it, right? It's too small. So 4 into 1 is nothing. It's 0. So I don't bring down my 2 right now. What I have to do is, because it's 0, I have to write 0 to show that the 1, the 4 into the 1 is nothing. Then I do my multiplication with the 0. 0 times 4 is 0. I do my subtraction. I get 1. Now I can bring down my 2 right here. Now I can go 4 into 12. I go down here. There's my 12. It goes in 3 times. I put my 3 above the 12. And now I'm going to multiply. 3 times 4 is 12. I subtract and I get 0. So the answer is 203, remainder 0. Now, if I wanted to double check my work, I could. There's an easy way to double check your work with this stuff. This is what I'm going to show you how to do. Because we know, well, this is not working very well. Because we know that multiplication is the opposite of division, I can take my answer, 203. Well, that's not very marker. Let's try this one again. Let's try that one. 203, and I can multiply it by 4, and I should get 812 if I've done it properly. So let's take a look. 4 times 3 is 12. I have to carry my 1. 4 times 0 is nothing. Plus 1 is 1. 4 times 2 is 8, 812. So I know I did it right. All right. So that's just an example of long division. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something that we're going to do a little bit on Thursday. This board, I missed my smart board. So I'm going to show you something we're going to do on Thursday. This is actually a cool part of long division that's actually pretty easy. Oh my goodness, my board is destroyed. These are drivers markers. Okay, and the long division that we're going to do on Thursday is long division with zero. So you remember we did multiplication, like 34 times 100. I take my zeros, I stick them on the end. My answer is 3,400. I have my 2 zeros there. So you remember we did that the other day. Well, we're going to do the division part, the division version of this. So in this one, I'm timesing, so I add the two numbers. Right, that makes sense. I'm adding two numbers because I'm making it bigger, and multiplying by 100. In division, the opposite happens. So I'm not adding zeros, I'm taking away zeros. So if I have a number like 34,000, and I want to divide it by 100, well, how many zeros do you think I'm going to take away in this case? What do you think? Well, I have 2 zeros here. I added my 2 zeros. I'm going to take away 2 zeros. So my answer, all I have to do is cross out 2 zeros here. My answer, 340. So it's actually a pretty easy concept. The more zeros I have here, the more I can cross out here. So for example, I might have a giant number like this, 790,000. And I'm going to divide it by 1,000. Well, cross out 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. My answer, 790. Now the reason I crossed those out was I was just counting them really. But 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 790 is my answer. All right, so that's a pretty straightforward division strategy. Now you might say, well, what happens if you have no zeros here? Well, I'm not going to give you a question like that. But if you did get that, you'll get that next year, certainly in grade 6. It relates to the decimal in the number. So if I had 34 divided by 10, I can't take a 0 off of 34. But what I'm going to do instead, the decimal in 34 is at the end. I'm going to move my decimal this way one spot. My answer is 3.4. Just in case you're wondering, but you don't have to know that yet. So if it's confusing you, block it out of your mind. So anyway, that's the math lesson for today. Hopefully that's fairly straightforward. I know the long division thing, it's tough. It's the hardest, probably the hardest thing you're going to do in grade 4 this year. So don't panic. Obviously, we're not in school, so I can't give you any one-on-one support. So it makes it really challenging to learn this sort of stuff when you can't actually be in school, see it done over and over again on the chalkboard or on the smartboard. It makes it difficult. So we're going to do our best. Hopefully you're getting it. If you're not, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't stress. All right, just give it a shot. Try a couple of them and see how you do. All right, that's all we can do. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. Just going to turn this off here.